Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and today we're coming back with another Hall Effect gaming keyboard, and this time it's from Gravastar. Now, Gravastar has been one of my more favorite Hall Effect switches actually. The UFOs were really nice, but they were just too expensive. Now, they sent me the V60 Pro. Now, this is going to be a pre-built gaming keyboard, which has the UFO switches in it, and it comes in an incredibly big box. So I'm really curious what this unboxing experience is going to be like and how this board really lines up with other Hall Effect boards out there, and if it's something that I would actually use myself a lot more, or just give you guys the facts and see whether or not this is something that you'd want to grab. So let's go into the unboxing, but please make sure to like and subscribe. Now, starting off with the unboxing of the Gravastar V60 Pro. Thank you again, Gravastar, for sending me this out. And one thing I already noticed with this for first impressions of the box is the fact that the unboxing experience with this and like the packaging is just incredible. Like, looking at this and the feel of it, I know this is the Gift Deluxe Edition, but they did an amazing job making this box just have that true premium feel. You get a really nice envelope in there with like stickers and the manual. You also have the keyboard in a nice cover, which is awesome. Underneath, you get extra keycaps, which is super cool. Overall, this whole thing and this box itself, where the keyboard is kept, feels premium. You get a really nice premium feel and unboxing experience. They have an accessories box, which you have number 1 and number 2, and these things are also really nicely done, right? You get a keycap puller, a really nice switch puller. It's not even like a basic switch puller. You get 4 extra switches, and these UFO switches, you have to understand, are on the pricey side. They're not cheap switches. You'll also get on the other side, it's going to be another slide out, and you get a braided cable, which is 90 degrees, which is something that I don't personally like. I think they made a mistake on this one. They should have made it not 90 degrees. And then you have this really cool thing, which is going to be a nice cleaning brush just for your keyboard for the dust that gets on it. Because let's be fair, guys, all of our boards that are on our desks gets a ton of dust, and this thing is a nice addition to this whole package. I really think that overall, Gravastar did a really great job with this. They really made a very, very premium feeling unboxing and packaging system that most people, when they get this, are going to be really enjoyable. And this is technically the gift box, meaning if you gifted this to someone, they're going to really love what they're getting. Now, the next thing we're getting for sure is the keycaps. You get extra keycaps with this thing, which is very cool. I was quite surprised. I didn't expect this at all. To be honest, I never really look into things before I get the thing because I want to make sure that I get the full experience that you guys would be getting. And it's really cool to see like this extra keycap set where obviously you can get some nice keycap changes to this board that gives us an extra feel to it. These are going to be PC keycaps though, so they're going to be transparent, which also helps with the lighting, right? That's something that we want to see. We get extra nice lighting with this, and overall they did a really superb job with this whole thing. Now, of course, we have to now take a look at the actual keyboard itself, not just the nice box, because this is the thing that we're all waiting for, which is going to be the keyboard. And I gotta admit, the design wise, it's going to be a hit or miss depending on the person. And one thing I felt on this board is that it kind of felt plasticky, even though it has an aluminum case, which is a little bit surprising. But let's weigh the board before we do a sound test, and this thing weighs a total of 877 grams. Now going straight into the teardown portion. So first thing we want to check is going to be whether it has flex cuts or not and what kind of plate we're using here. It looks like it's an aluminum plate and there is no flex cuts at all. And you'll see right there, this is the purple UFO switches, which I'll show you guys later what I mean by why there's purple, and there's going to be a different colored UFO version. Now to open this up is very easy. There's going to be 8 screws in total that you have to remove. There's going to be the hexagonals. So all you have to do is remove all 8 of them and you can get the bottom open. Now once you do get the bottom open, one thing I was quite surprised about was that it is just a simple plate on the bottom. It's just an aluminum plate, which is very thin. I actually felt very thin, but it's still quite sturdy. Like I tried to bend it, didn't really fully bend. I mean, if I really put force into it, I'm sure I can. You also get a silicone bottom, which is really cool. And another thing I noticed is that the board is actually top mounted. So you're getting a top mounted HE board with this thing, which is quite interesting. And if you notice here, there was like a little bit of tape. I'm not exactly sure what it's for, but I'm pretty sure it's quite important for this board. It might be for the static and everything, just to make sure it's anti-static, because when I was opening it, I did feel there was a little bit of static that came through. Now the actual measurements of the plate and the PCB. So we're looking here, this is the plate front and it's 1.6 millimeters. And then the PCB is also 1.6 millimeters. So we're looking at 1.6 for both. It has a very, very thick foam in the middle as well. So it's fully pour on foam throughout the whole middle, which is quite nice. And of course, we're going to see a bunch of LEDs all around. So there's actually LEDs that go around for the lighting for the sides and the front. Now there is a issue with it. Like you're not going to fit this in any other case because of the way the PCB is shaped. And that's not a great thing. Now, in terms of the actual stabilizers, you will see that the stabilizers are plate mounted. They do also have a little bit of a nice lubing in there. It's actually kind of a lot of lubing, which is really nice because then I don't have to modify myself, because I didn't really hear any tinging. Now I'm going to be modifying this with very simple things. 2-layer tape mod. This is going to be just enough to hopefully make this board sound a lot better. And I'm thinking about making the spacebar different, but I don't think I will, just because I can't add tape to that one, and I'm just going to do a little bit of changes. So I'm going to do a 2-layer tape inside the spacebar just to help with the sound, because I feel like it's kind of bland and the sound itself was a little flat. So I'm hoping that will help it. And then I'm also going to change up some of the keycaps. So we're going to just go with some of them. I'm going to keep it a little bit accented on the bottom. Some people might like how I did it, some people might not, but let's do a sound test. So what are the pros and cons of this board? First thing off, you get a really nice switch with it. The UFO switches are probably one of the best switches for HE in terms of the typing feel and the sound. A little bit more on the solid sound feel. The front is a little bit interesting shape, but it does provide a nice feel in terms of like the typing. And the back also has a button for changing profiles, but the USB port's on the left side. And this isn't really fit for routing, which is a big con, so you can't change cases. Now the bottom is an aluminum. It does have a nice CNC to it, very, very smooth. And you get nice keycaps with this, so you can change up the keycaps depending on what you're looking for and feel. And in terms of the lighting, it's not bad. You get some decent lighting that comes through. But of course, we have to really do a full lighting test. Now, one thing to note is the lighting isn't the brightest. You can see it here where it kind of looks a little bit dimmish in terms of the color. Yes, it actually is like that in person. It's not the brightest looking board out there. You do get some decent lighting, and in the dark you will see the lights come out from the side and the front, and then the little logo on the top left. But overall, the lighting isn't going to be the most brightest lighting you'll get in a HE board. Now, the box itself is super premium, which is super nice to see in terms of the unboxing experience. Now going into the website, you can see here it's the V60 Pro Deluxe Edition with the gift box set. It is expensive. You're looking at 220 USD. That is not a cheap price, especially when you consider it with a lot of the other competition, which we'll do a comparison sheet after. It is an 8K board, so you are getting 8K with this thing. It is only wired. Keep in mind, you're not going to be able to do wireless with this. You do have like the extra keycap, so you can do a different feel of however you feel like. I really think that that's a nice addition to the board itself. They say true 8K, which we'll test later with Keyboard Inspector and see what we're getting here. The UFO switches, as I mentioned, so depending on the color board you get, you're going to get different switch colors. So the purple UFOs will go in the dark gray, and then the silver, the light silver, will get the actual like silver, the white or silverish UFO switches. The profile button, really cool that you got 4 different profiles. This is something that I've mentioned many times with HE boards that I've reviewed. Profiles is an important thing. Every single HE board must have a profile setting. The reason being, when you are playing with games and you're typing, it's a completely different setting and you have to be able to easily change it. If that doesn't happen, what's the point of having an HE board? Like, it's just not going to work. You want it to be an everything board and you must have the profiles. Now, getting to the web app. So the web app's super easy to get to, and then the web app itself is designed very, very interesting. It has like the whole Gravastar theme, right? It's like a punk rock kind of theme to it. The software itself is not bad. It's a very big reminiscent of the Keychron software, and I think that's very good. I still have this bug with mine in terms of how the things are showing up at the bottom. Depending on the person, you shouldn't have to deal with this issue, but for me, it still is an issue, and this is something that I had to deal with Keychron itself as well. So this is something that I'm hoping will be fixed in the near future for both Keychron and Gravastar. Now going into the configurations of things. So you can do change profiles in here. You can also press the button and it also will change in the software. This is a really important thing because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that it's super easy to do things, and especially if you're pressing the button, that should also work in terms of changing their profiles. I really thought it was cool that they also have some settings here for different games. So CSGO, Delta Force, things like that. So even for Delta Force, they have extra settings that you can use for yourself depending on what you want to do, which is really cool. I mean, this is really meant for a lot of those players, and they have nice settings for you if you do play Delta Force, which I've actually played before. Another thing, you can go into like different settings here, performance settings, advanced settings. You can change up the rapid trigger, things like that. You can even change the polling rate, which is really cool. And you can also test like the keyboard calibration, which is actually a very interesting thing. This is something I haven't seen in other softwares, and it's really cool to see how it is calibrating and how it's actually testing your presses. And depending on how you're pressing, it's able to do those calibrations that's required, which is really cool. And changing profiles, which we will actually test to see and make sure it is doing it correctly, because some boards with like really high scan rates doesn't actually change it, I feel like, to 1K, and then it's making it really weird. So we want to make sure that it actually does true 1K, true 8K, things like that. Now, as you can see here, you have the many layers. The thing is, I still don't see a way to do profiles with shortcuts for like function keys. This is, I think, something that could be an addition they should add into the software, because just having a button itself is cool and all, but say you want to quickly change something, function key to do it is much better. And I think that's something that's going to be a really good addition to the software to make it even better. Now, it does have like the advanced, snap tap, dynamic keystroke, things like that, which is cool. And it also has a Joy-Con mode. So not Joy-Con, sorry, controller mode. And the controller is going to be an interesting thing that I want to test as well to make sure it does work, because this is something I actually use for the Wu-Ting. So for myself, this is a thing that I think is quite useful to have, and a very nice feature for Hall Effect keyboards that really should be in all Hall Effect keyboards. It's a thing that it's an analog thing that really can be done in all of them. So I would love to see this actually work, and we're going to have to test it in. But first of all, let's do a quick keyboard inspector test on the polling rate. So doing the keyboard inspector, and this is at 8K, we're going to see that we are getting 8K. So that's a good thing, right? It actually shows it depending on how you're doing it. You'll see how when I get it all to the max scanning rate, the binning rate, you're going to get full 8K, which is really great. Next thing I want to test is, does it change to actual 1K? And will Keyboard Inspector actually be able to tell it's 1K? If that's the case, that means this is actually the true 8K and true 1K, which is a very good thing. Because when you are changing it and you have a keyboard working with your computer and you want it to use 1K and not have bugs in it or like weird, delays because of your board or your computer being a bit older, this is definitely something good to see that it can do, because you want to change it to different polling rates. Now, testing it in Apex Legends works perfectly fine. That wasn't a super glide, but in general, using Hall effect really does benefit you in terms of gaming because of these features. Like for example, super gliding is a frame perfect thing, and I use a shotgun with a gold bolt because when I pull off a super glide properly, it shows that it auto reloads. This is something that really helps to be able to test or not if it works and how good the rapid trigger is when I'm trying to put in the settings. Now the next thing I want to test is going to be shooting. Now in Apex Legends, there is a way to do recoil smoothing, and one of the things to understand is that if you move in Apex Legends, there is recoil smoothing. If you don't do recoil control or a recoil smoothing, it'll actually go all the way up. Now if you do spam AD with Hall effect boards, this only works with Hall effect boards, unfortunately. No boards for like mechanical from our test is able to do this, but you can actually do a bit of recoil control and recoil softening. Now this is going to be the SOCD, so we're going to set it up. You have to make sure to click open it and then have this pop up. You're going to put in the keys for AD, make sure it's set into last input, and then you're going to have to save it. So once you put all of that in and you've saved it, you're going to then be able to test it out in the game. So in game, making sure it does work, because the last time I tried a board it didn't work. This one, it works perfectly fine. So I'm holding A and then I press D and then moving around. The last input is what's kept. So if I press A and then I press D again, so I'm holding A and then press D, you will still move to the right. It's the last input. If I let go of D, it goes back left. So this is kind of beneficial if you're doing long peakings, and that way you can keep moving and do a small stop in the middle. And you have to practice this, of course, but it will be very useful. Now I tried the Joy-Con mode in Final Fantasy because this one I know it does work normally, but unfortunately I didn't get it to work, and this is something they're gonna have to fix. So going into the comparison sheet, and by the way guys, I know a lot of people have been asking about this. I will make a Google sheet very soon. I just haven't had the time at all because I've been so busy, but when I do make it, it will be shared in my Discord. So make sure you join the Discord, because if you're going to want access to any of these spreadsheets, they're only going to be available on my Discord for the people that are part of the Discord channel. Now going into looking more into this, so one of the things I felt, it has a good switch, right? The UFO switches is one of the better switches out there for Hall effect. The reason I say this is it has a more solid sound and it's a little bit on the deeper side. It's not a full deep lock, but it's definitely getting closer. And the feel wise, it feels quite nice. I think if it had a longer spring though, it would have felt a lot nicer. Like this switch really has a lot of potential, but it's just not 100% there yet. Not to the point where it's comparable to mechanical switches. Now, one of the biggest cons is the fact that it's not going to have the ability to change to a different case. So the PCB is shaped weird, so you cannot change the different cases or customize it that way. And another thing to note is that the case itself is a nice aluminum, but it sometimes feels plasticky on the sides. So that's something to note as well. Now, the overall software, I gave it 8.5 out of 10. It's a very good software, honestly. Macros and everything. The fact is, it's a very nice software, very well done. Only thing is the Joy-Con mode was not working. Typing sound wise, the UFO switches were very good. Lubing it with this board actually does help a little bit. You'll get a little bit of a better sound with it, but overall you don't have to lube these switches, which is nice. Now, in terms of comparing with the competitors out there, right? So you have the V60 HEV2, which is like $239. So it is a little bit more expensive, but you're only looking at a little bit more, and it's more customizable as a board. You can get third-party cases, all that stuff. There are budget boards out there, which you can definitely look at if you want to save money. But the Gravastar is not too bad if you really look at overall competition, because the pricing's gotten quite expensive nowadays, especially with the economy. The thing is though, I do think they should have reduced the price a little bit because of the fact that it can't be customized too much, and the fact that it's a 64% where the shift is a little bit small, so some people might find it very, very uncomfortable with pressing the right shift. And overall, comparing with the competitors, because of the lack of customizability, it's a little bit more difficult to justify this price. I think it's a good board, but there's certain things I think could really make it reduce price. As you would have saw on the whole spreadsheet, my comparisons and the whole review of this board, they did a very good job with overall value that you're getting, especially when you consider like the prices of stuff, right? It's got an aluminum case, it has a nice switch, the UFO switches, and it has a very decent software. But the case itself, I still feel like it just doesn't feel the best. Even though it's an aluminum case, it just has a little bit of that more plastic feel to it in certain areas. I think they could have done a better job with the case. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like it would have been nice to have a higher quality feeling case overall, just because they're competing with a lot of the bigger people out there, especially at this price range, right? You're competing with Wu-Tang, you're competing with Gion, you're competing with a lot of the big names that people love to see. And price range wise, it's not cheap. And that's why I say it would have been nice if they had a better case with a little bit more oomph to it and a better quality feel to it. Maybe they will do something, and I'd love to see them change it and really improve in terms of that. But with this case itself, you're still going to get a very good feel and sound from it, and you can modify a little bit with it to really see and get what you're looking for. I'll have the links in the description. You can go check out it yourselves, and of course, go check out the other videos I got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.